Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. One of the toughest things for a new investor is to figure out what exactly should you be investing in. What is something that is worth it? Because with all the stocks out there, especially with 2022 being the year that it is, where the market has mostly been down, it's hard to decide that this is a good company and this is a bad company, and whether you should buy it, whether you should just ignore it, and how long should you hold it. These are all questions that we solve pretty much on the channel each and every day, Monday through Friday. But today I want to give you a few insider tips from Warren Buffett, because just like I've talked about before, studying people, learning what they do, and taking their best traits and incorporating into your own game, your own process, is one of the best ways to learn investing and the best ways to become a better investor. For example, and I think I've made this sports analogy before, one of my favorite players, Kobe Bryant, took different aspects of everyone's game. So he would go and study Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. For people who are younger, you may not have seen Hakeem play, but he was cold on the block. Obviously, I think most people know Michael Jordan. He learned a lot from there, and we would pick different pieces of everyone's game and then make it his own. So in this video, we're gonna learn from Warren Buffett, one of the best in the game, in the investing game, and see what he bought, what he sold, and then what are some of the things that we can pay attention to here. Now, this is from his most recent 13F, which we found out about in August. 13F is a filing that you have to file after you, I don't know if it's $100 million or $50 million or whatever the case is. When you invest a whole lot of money and you own an investment company, you have to make these things public. So what I'm going to do is show you the top 3 he bought, the top 3 he sold, and just kind of give you some of my thoughts and opinions on it. The other thing too, I'm going to give you the year-to-date numbers, so how these companies have done from January to the time that we are recording. I'm recording this on the 20th of October. You will most likely see it on the 21st. I am going on a vacation, and by vacation, I mean homecoming. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So of all the companies here, the interesting thing is only one of them is positive year-to-date, which is just something to note. A lot of these are down. Obviously, the ones he sold are likely down, but the ones that he bought, some of these are down too. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The first one is Oxy Petroleum. There's OXY. It's up 137%. I mean, that's obvious. We know the oil market and companies in that space have been doing well since like December of 2021. We know the Russian-Ukraine situation exacerbates that. We also know the OPEC situation exacerbates that as well. We also do know that the U.S. administration did release a little bit more oil out of the strategic oil reserve. It's probably not going to do that much. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 15 million barrels that they're going to take out of the reserve to kind of put out there in supply and really put out more supply, bring down prices. That was the goal there. But from the research that I read, I think we use as a country 20 million barrels a day. If you just put out 15, that's going to be gone before the day is over. So I don't really think it's going to have the biggest impact on oil prices. However, Oxy Petroleum up 137% on the year. And then he also bought Chevron. Well, I'm not going to get into Chevron, but he also bought that. So he's definitely looking at oil and has been investing quite heavily, especially in Oxy, over the last year or so. Now here's where things get a little interesting. He bought Ally. That stock symbol is ALLY. Now we've done a video on Ally, and at the time I think I was comparing Ally to Goldman Sachs. Maybe I should have went with Ally between the two, just based on how the year has gone. But Ally is down 42% so far this year. He bought 21 million shares of Ally. And going back to Oxy, he bought 83.9 million shares of Oxy. But when we go back to Ally, it's interesting. So going into the year, I've said this plenty of times at this point, going into the year we knew, or expected rather, that interest rates were going to go up. They did, and we expected banks to do well. In that scenario, in a vacuum, that is still true. The problem was inflation was also still up, and the other problem was the expectation and threat of recession. We already had 2 negative quarters of GDP. You've got a lot of companies we talked about with Snapchat the other day, pulling back on advertising, pulling back on hiring, letting people go. That's usually a sign of recession. We also saw how a lot of the banks who've already reported said, look, we're increasing our loan loss reserves. We're increasing the money that we're sitting on the side, and we're willing to lose revenue on that because we think something bad is going to happen. So investing in Ally just doesn't seem like a the best move in the medium term. So it seems like maybe he feels like this is a discount, and maybe over the next 5, 10, 15 years perhaps, because Warren Buffett is a very long-term investor. Maybe that's what he's looking at. If you want to learn more about Ally, let me know. I am more than willing to go back and do a deep dive and breakdown on that one. The next one here is, I will just say this. He bought 3.8 million shares of it. It is down 19%, and that company is Apple. Now, Apple, to me, makes a lot of sense to continue buying. I dollar cost average into it from time to time. And it's one of the most solid companies. They've got a lot of cash. They know how to manage their debt. They have great products. There aren't that many holes in Apple's game. And to me, if a company is doing that well and happens to be down 19%, that says that the market just does not understand how valuable Apple is. It's obviously one of Warren Buffett's biggest holdings. I mean, if you look at a percentage basis, he's overweight in Apple. That's the term we say when you got too much Apple. But he don't care. He is consistently buying Apple. I too am consistently buying Apple as well. That one I think makes absolutely the most sense. And I don't even think I need to break that one down. But if you want me to, just drop a comment, tell me about Apple. But I think we all pretty much know how and why Apple is the company that it is. So those are the top three that he bought: Oxy, Apple, and Ally. Now we move into the things that he sold. And again, just interesting, just throwing it out here. Now again, I will repeat that we found out these numbers in August, which means I think that we get these reports like several weeks after these trades actually happen. So they are a little bit delayed, just so you know. So one of the first things that he sold, one of the biggest things that he sold GM, General Motors, the biggest competitor to Ford and Tesla and others. I don't know if you want to call it the biggest competitor to Tesla anyway. But in either case, GM is down 42%. When I think I had GM at one point for my daughter, and this is before 2022, but we were, electric vehicles, they were making some transformations, things were going well. Ford was up at that point in time, but they're down 42% this year. The market is down 20 or so, depending on how the market is moving at the time of this recording. GM is far underperformed so far this year. I think that absolutely makes sense to let that one go. Next here is Kroger. That is KR. The interesting thing about Kroger, it is only down 6%, and he let go of it. He sold off some shares. He also the interesting thing here too is, as of we are recording this and talking about it, they're in talks in a deal to buy Albertsons, which I think makes them a lot more powerful. We'll see if that's approved. It'll be several weeks before we even find that out. But the other thing is, knowing what we know, and this is at any point this year, really, at any point this year, Kroger had always been relatively solid, and then we knew that we were dealing with inflation. I don't know, and it's also a business that you'll have to get rid of. So I don't know if I would have sold Kroger if I had it. And I don't think he knew. I don't think many people knew that they were going to buy Albertsons. So I was just curious, because if everything here, you got Oxy is up 137. I get Apple, but if Kroger is only down 6%, I'm like, hey, I'm better off losing the 6 than losing the 42, or losing 42 in both GM and Ally here. So just curious. I mean, it's Warren Buffett, so who am I to criticize? But that's just one I would ask him. If I got to sit down and ask him a question, the second question I would ask is, why do you sell Kroger? The first one is, can I have $1 billion? So the next one here is the last one we'll talk about. This company is down 28%, but it has a dividend yield of 7.14 or 7.14%. The same thing, but y'all get the point. It's Kroger. I'm sorry, it is Verizon. I looked down and saw Kroger. It is Verizon. That is VZ. Now, Verizon, there are a few things about Verizon. Number one, Verizon has not done well for years now from a stock market perspective, even though it's in the exact same industry as T-Mobile, and T-Mobile is doing quite fine so far this year. So it's just kind of interesting about how these companies move, whether they are a target for a merger, because T-Mobile merged with Sprint, and again, that has worked well, whereas other companies just haven't been. But the other thing too, and I've talked about this plenty of times before, is being trapped or suckered into what I call the dividend trap, because a lot of people, especially new investors, you want to get that passive income from the stock market, and that is a good thing to shoot for, is a thing that can happen and a thing that can work. So we try to do is go and find the company that's paying 7% dividends, 5% dividends. And things sound great until you realize that Verizon so far this year is down 28%. So yeah, you get a dividend, and that dividend is going to look, that dividend yield, that rate is going to look more attractive as the stock price falls. That's not great. That's not the situation that you want to be in. I would prefer to get a solid dividend with the company that is doing well, or a stock that's doing well, and Verizon is not that one. So he sold out of that one. I think that absolutely makes sense. AT&T was at one point in a very, very similar boat. I don't know where AT&T is right now, but of all three, T-Mobile tends to be the winner. I also own T-Mobile as well. So those are the three things he sold: GM, Kroger, and Verizon. The three things he bought was Oxy Petroleum, Ally, and Apple. What I need you to do for your homework right now is let me know which one of these companies do you want to learn more about. We talked about this yesterday as well. I want to get into the things that are most useful for you. So is it talking about these specific companies? Is it a question that you have? I know someone asked a question about I-bonds. Guess what? We did a video about I-bonds. So I'm here to help you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Last but not least, you know we have the members only. We do exclusive videos every single week. So when we talk about more high-level exclusive videos and things that go into greater detail, you can find all that stuff inside the members only. So if you want to talk about how do you find this 13F and how do you know exactly what he bought, when he bought, and how much he has, we've gone over websites that show you exactly that information. I also did a video, or doing a video that should come out on Friday for our members on finding those value stocks. So it's all there. It's all there. If it ain't there, you can ask and we can put it there. And that's the beauty of our members only. So let me know what you want and need in the comments below. I'm here for you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.